today, Philip, Trump ordered all federal agencies to stop using Anthropic's AI technology. And that's because, as I said, the company would not give unrestricted military use to its technology. Trump's own former AI advisor weighed in today, and I'm hoping we can pull that up. But Dean Bell, his former advisor, called this an attempted corporate murder. And he said, given all of this, I could not possibly recommend investing in American AI to any investor. I could not possibly recommend starting an AI company in the United States. Again, this is Trump's former AI advisor. I think Dean's wife actually is very senior in like the one MAGA pseudo-intellectual think tank, American Compass. My question for you, Philip, is the question I've always had, which is at what point do private companies actually turn against this president when they themselves are not in the crosshairs? Because it feels like this is not only a threat to rule of law, this is a threat to the very underpinnings of a private market.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I do think it's worth people understanding also the role that Anthropic plays in this space. So just very quick history. Anthropic was born out of OpenAI. OpenAI was built to be an organization that did AI the right way and was safe. And then the guy who founded Anthropic, Dario Amodei, felt as though they weren't doing that. So he founded his own company. And they've been very successful with their AI agent called Claude at doing things like code and data. Whereas when you think about AI and you think about, AI slop and chatbots that are leading to suicide, that's more what OpenAI is known for. And so this is a much different product than what OpenAI is and has long prided itself on safeguards, which OpenAI has not.
Yeah,
so I think
that's part of the reason they split off,
that's
right?
Correct. That's the central reason.
They thought they had more of a conscience. Anyway,
that's right.
Continue.
So this is essentially Anthropic doing what Anthropic has said it is going to do in response to the Department of War. And so they have said, this is what our business is predicated on, this sort of safety, and we feel as though you're not taking that seriously. So not only is this sort of fit into the broader question of how does the Trump administration deal with private business, which is they deal with it as long as they can get money or power out of it. Like that's when they have an interest in it. But this is them saying you have to be a different company than what were instantiated to be. And I think that's a core part of the tension here. And now what we see recently is, in the past hour or so, is OpenAI stepping up and saying, well, we'll do it instead, which I think it reflects on OpenAI.
Didn't Trump call Anthropic woke AI?
Radical left.
This is what he says. And,
Anthropic is basically asking for permission to not be Skynet in the Terminator movies. Right. They're basically just saying, we don't want to kill people without a person actually pulling the trigger, or at least authorizing the pulling of a trigger. They're just basically saying, we don't want this to be become bigger than us. We don't want to create killing machines that are completely automated and self-thinking. Crazy stuff, woke, like far left, radical left stuff, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Christy, my question about all of this is the other question I have. My questions are always, when is the market when are private actors going to fight back? And also, is it legal? And the is it legal piece of this is not the Skynet piece of it. I'm not even going to get into all of that. This form of retribution that the president is using, he is basically saying that no companies that do any kind of private contracts with the U.S. government can also do business with Anthropic. That is what he is arguing. I'm wondering what you make of that. The whole thing seems somewhat pretextual, but you are the actual attorney.
Yeah, I mean, just taking a step back, like these policies are policies that make sense if you are a lawyer as well, because you as a company want to make sure that there are safeguards in place so that if there is surveillance that leads to some event where someone dies or, there's serious harm, that the company is protected from that there is some human involved in conducting some oversight. You would want that as a lawyer from a liability perspective. And so these policies aren't just the right policies, though I would argue they are. There are also policies that protect the company. And so for then the government to come in and say, no, we know better than you about how you should be running your company, I don't see how that can possibly stand up in a court of law.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that's perverse or bizarre about all of this is that there's been this ongoing debate about how to or whether to regulate AI. And here it's like the AI companies are trying to effectively, put guardrails on AI, and instead the AI companies are saying we want to put guardrails on the government. That's the bizarro situation that we are in. Anthony, you sort of touched on this before, but Republicans used to be considered the party of free markets. Now, I don't know where they are. And actually, Democratic Senator Brian Schatz tweeted today, if you like free markets, you should consider becoming a Democrat. And then he listed out a few different examples about why, about energy projects that were killed by this government, about tariffs, and then about, obviously, this exacting of retribution against a private company. Do you think that is actually a successful message for Democrats? Like, we are the pro-business, pro-market party.
I don't know how many votes it's going to get, but it could be good to get businesses on your side, because businesses are kind of under siege. And in a situation like this, where, like you said, that it's practically a death sentence to Anthropic if you make it so that they are a supply chain threat, that they can't be used in any form of government operations or work with companies who are working with the government. So it's basically, it's a kill switch on a company. So if you're trying to say that you are more pro-business than Republicans, all you got to do is point to what Republicans are doing. You don't even really have to say, we've got all these big abundance plans. You can just say, look at what the Republicans are doing.
But you're absolutely right. I think we also need to roll back the clock a little bit here, because I do think Democrats have been saying this all along, that Donald Trump doesn't support businesses. He doesn't care about you. I'm reading, recently, obviously, he's saying that he's not going to pay for the building of Alligator Alcatraz. So where's that money going to come from?
Oh, from Florida.
From the state of Florida. Yeah, the same language he used when he said he's going to build the wall, and he doesn't build the wall. But Hillary, going back to my old boss, Hillary Clinton, she was talking 10 years ago about how Trump never paid any of his contractors, that a lot of people wound up either going out of business or being substantially impacted by the fact that they were doing big projects for him, and he never paid them. He doesn't care about these businesses if they take the knee. Yes, he'll play with you for a little while, but he ultimately does not care about the health and strength of these businesses, because in his view, he'll just go find somebody else.
Yeah, but my question is still, don't the businesses figure this out?
Well, they have to do what we do, which is find a way to get by. Honestly, and I don't mean to be facetious about this, but in this environment, people have had to find a way to cope. I do a lot of work with nonprofits. There are nonprofits that have been told, you can't put this language on your website, otherwise you're not getting grants, right? You can't do this work anymore, otherwise we, the private sector, are not going to fund you anymore. But they've got to find a way to continue to do what they do. Private sector's got to find a way to do the same thing.
And let me just say, the private sector is not going to get rid of Claude. Claude is an intensely useful tool. It's like saying you got to get rid of Microsoft. They're going to be like, okay, and they're going to have their lawyers deal with it. So let's just be very clear. Donald Trump, once again, thinks he has a lot of power that he doesn't actually have and is not going to be able to affect.
I think this is all a fabulous marketing opportunity for Claude, because they're like, look, the U.S. government needs us so badly that they were trying to get us to agree to become Skynet.